Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by Clive Jacobs, who is the owner and chairman of Jacobs Media Group, and Julia Feuell, who is the founder and managing director of Online Travel Training. And you'll probably have seen the news that Clive, Jacobs Media Group, has just agreed to acquire Online Travel Training. So very exciting, and we want to talk to you all about that and why you've stepped in. But Julia, can I start with you? Let's just take you back. Just explain to anyone watching, when you founded the business, why you founded it, and how big it's grown. Just give us an idea.
Right, so it grew out of my recruitment company, New Frontiers. For some people may remember that back in the day, yes. And as an idea to train the travel industry, because a lot of product training was running around at the time. And then it kind of grew where people hadn't created product training and needed help in doing that. So then we decided to create a platform where you could easily upload your information and put your information together. Then after a short time, people started asking for it in different languages. So then we had investment and we then created a global platform. Took quite a few years to do. Yes. It launched in 2018. So 2019 was the first year we had to sell it globally. But now we have more than 200 courses in various languages, 22 languages in fact altogether. And we educate the trade on products and services of suppliers like airlines and cruise companies, destination products, hotels and resorts.
Amazing.
And so on. So,
and how many agents are signed up to use the platform?
We have 260,000 globally that are active, but 500,000 altogether have managed to register with OTT. So it kind of grew very quickly. Over the years.
But a very, very valuable resource in this country and, as you say, elsewhere. Yeah. So brilliant. All right. Now, there was a reason that you two are together.
Yes.
I was at the ABTA convention last week and the news came through that you were having some financial difficulties, and there's a lot of rumours going around. It was obviously a very difficult, I'm sure, uncomfortable time. So just tell us how it got to that point, Julia.
Yes. It's easy to go into a pandemic because everybody just has no choice. You just have to go into one and you make the best of it. And then the government was very supportive of various loans and things that you could take on board, which kept us going. But as a technology platform, we're still attached to the travel industry. And the poor old travel industry, it's been the last to come out of the whole pandemic. And, you don't need me to tell you how difficult it's been for the industry. So even as a technology platform, being aligned with travel, in coming out, I think it's harder to come out of anything than it is to go in it. And we just had so much disruption with budgets for various different tourist boards, people that had left jobs, so a new person joining didn't know OTT, or they weren't replaced, so we were taken out of the budget. Representation companies that we work with had lost their accounts, so they were up for retender. We had various people with obviously their own budget problems, so they couldn't pay us when they wanted to, sort of in bits and pieces. Or purchase orders couldn't be written for this year, really. Has to be next year. And we're a small business, there's 14 of us. Fantastic team, by the way, have been so supportive. I really want to do a big shout out to the team. And, when you run out of cash or that starts to become tight, even though I'd personally put in quite a bit of money myself, at some point you have to kind of raise the white flag and see, and say we're struggling. It's a very difficult thing to say, but oh my gosh, the messages I had from people were just phenomenal. I even had people messaging saying, I'm praying for you. I mean,
all right, well, we'll come on to that because it's a very important point, because it's a very, very loved resource and platform, and we'll talk about that. But let's bring you in, Clive. When were you made aware of this, and what was your experience or knowledge of OTT before it got to this point?
So first of all, can I just, as I would always do, just pick up on something that Julia said, which I think is very, very poignant, which is the government created loans during the pandemic. Those loans were designed to help companies over a 6-month period. For the travel industry, effectively, the pandemic lasted for 2 years. We all took on enormous amounts of debt. Those of us that were able, personally, at great risk to ourselves, funded our own businesses. And if you look across the industry at the moment, we're all still repaying enormous amounts of debt that was created through no fault of our own. And some businesses have, as a result, just simply run out of road, which is dreadfully sad. And of course, that's what's ultimately led me to rescue this great business. But back to your question, I, as many know, live in Dubai, moved to Dubai during the pandemic. I had to move somewhere away from Britain because I was increasingly frustrated by two things, really. One, the government's lack of recognition of the impact they were having on travel and hospitality, and B, the lack of many people to fight and challenge the government. I found it very frustrating, and I had to go somewhere that had a more positive and can-do mentality in the pandemic. Dubai stayed open virtually throughout, bar the first 6 weeks of lockdown. We were opening an office there as well.
That's right.
I was on a flight last Wednesday, flying from Abu Dhabi back to London, coming back for some meetings to meet some new people in our team, the Hall of Fame event, and very shortly after takeoff, as soon as I got some Wi-Fi, a Travel Weekly breaking news story came through.
There you go.
Saying that OTT had got into trouble. And my immediate reaction back to Duncan and Stuart, Duncan Group CEO, Stuart UK CEO, was let's rescue this business because frankly a missing piece of our puzzle has always been training. I've always been, as you know, very passionate about the travel industry, travel agents in particular, and therefore training is fundamental to the success of our industry and the continuity and the relevance of travel agents, which I still personally very much believe in. And as many know, I own a large luxury travel agency business in North America. Travel agents perform a critical role, but they need to be trained. So for us as a business, I felt that it was absolutely essential to have a training piece in the business, but of course admired OTT from afar with its success, and feeling that you know there's no point in competing with strong businesses, and I saw OTT as a strong business in its field, both technologically and in terms of the depth of language and its engagement. And its engagement, exactly.
And that must have been, I mean, Julia touched on it there, but that outpouring of affection and people going, you've got to save this someone, you know, people didn't want it to go because it's so critical in their businesses. So that must have...
So by the time I landed...
I was going to say, that must
have... By
the
time I landed, sort of 7 hours later, we were already mobilising to find a way to save the business. My view is that if a business goes into administration or liquidation, normally they're damaged, and I didn't want this business damaged. I wanted the business to be intact, so that both its employees, the confidence of the industry. Of course, there's always vultures that are looking to, you know, get something on the cheap.
Well, I was going to say, you weren't the only. I'm sure, Julia, you had quite a few. 17 people were interested, which is fantastic and must have made you feel good at the time. But why did you pick Clive?
Oh, because of everybody that did approach me, and thank you very much for getting in touch as well and offering to help, because you know that meant a lot. I just didn't expect all of this. But Jacobs Media Group is by far and away the most complimentary I felt for OTT, because we could just sort of snug in, and then with the B2B marketing that we both do, and with the same sort of audience that we have, it just felt very complimentary, and I just felt that we would be turbocharged and be able to finally really grow and not be sort of bootstrapped by, you know, cash, and be able to sort of really do what it needs to do globally as well as in the UK. So it was a very exciting proposition which Clive put forward to continue with the business and make it, you know, much stronger than it's ever been. So
well, can we just ask you a little bit about the structure of the deal then, and what you, I mean, as much as you can tell us, but presumably have you had to take on some debts from the previous business? Okay, but that's something that you're very comfortable with.
Oh, totally. I mean, but that was the point. What we've done is we've taken over the business as an entity. So it will be a subsidiary of Jacobs Media Group.
Yeah, so a
and therefore-
standalone, keeping its name
Yes,
standalone within the group.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, it's a brand,
Yeah.
and
And does that involve bringing over all the staff?
all the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the debts and liabilities of the business. The nature of the deal, of course, is confidential, but suffice to say that we've absorbed and we will absorb the debts, which, again, everyone collected debts during that period. Of course,
Yeah.
the larger the business, always the easier for the banks to give more and more money. I mean, some of the debts in the industry are astronomical.
Yeah.
Just take the cruise lines,
Yeah.
billions and billions
Yes.
of debt taken on during the pandemic. For a business like Julia's, and that it's all on Julia's shoulders, it just becomes overwhelming. And of course, you've got to pay back these debts. Interest rates now have gone up, so the cost of servicing debt has gone up. Everything has worked against
Yes.
people.
So the timing's been, I guess, I get what you're saying, the timing's been bad in many ways, and that's what's led to this. But actually, we have, I shouldn't say we because I'm the interviewer, but as travel, we have come out of the pandemic in a strong way because travel has come back very quickly. Actually, once it was allowed to reopen, it's come back very strongly. So that's, I guess, given you the confidence to make this kind of acquisition. And then the other point is that there's been a lot of change in the industry. And so we've got lots of new people to train. So there's that strength that we've got, that we're confident that travel's on the right trajectory, but we've also got this greater need, I imagine, than ever before for your platform.
Well, look, I just want to say something here because it is quite relevant. At great personal risk to myself, I kept far more people employed.
Thank you very much for that.
in the business during the pandemic, and it was a great personal risk because it was clear no one knew how long the madness would go on and some of the ridiculous and unnecessary regulations. So one of the reasons we've come out of the pandemic strong is that we really kept the business going. We lost money and there was, as I say, a great personal cost, but the business was ready to hit the ground running because it had never stopped.
All the same output.
It never stopped.
Yeah.
And of course, when I look at our position, not including OTT, in 24, our business will be double the size it was in 2019, and that is directly down to being brave in that period. Now with OTT, of course, it creates so many other opportunities because from the UK perspective, there's so much more we can do with OTT as part of our stable of brands, and it links in with all our products, whether it's Travel Weekly, whether it's Aspire, whether it's ATAS. Have I missed anything?
No, you're doing well.
Okay.
There are lots.
And the caterer.
Caterer, yeah.
You see it on the caterer, which for UK travel agents, they may not even realise that we own the caterer. But that is the oldest business-to-business publication in the world.
In the hospitality sector. So that's
it's the oldest in the world.
Yes.
And it
Sorry,
covers,
that's what I mean, but it covers, if people don't
hosp-
know, it's hotels, it's restaurants, and so actually the training platform would work.
Exactly, and it will
very
work
well
across there.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the global reach of Jacobs Media Group, this sits across our connecting travel business, our connections, luxury businesses, our global travel week businesses. So it really does sit across a whole portfolio. And for the first time in the business, we have something that will work vertically in our business, but then equally horizontally across everything. So as you can see, I'm really excited.
Very excited. You do. You both look excited, which is fantastic. So let's just on a practical level, and before we close, but the short-term, tasks. Then is it about sort of reassuring the staff? I guess they now know, but in terms of all the clients, because I mean, people will have been worried. They've got courses committed with you, and they probably didn't know if that was going to continue. So I guess that's a strong message we must get out that. If you've got a course on, it's all business as usual.
Business as usual, completely. Yeah. And I do want to thank our clients wholeheartedly because many of them message me and sending good wishes and really, wanting everything to be turning out well. So, which of course, it really has done. In fact, we've emerged from this far stronger than 2 weeks ago.
Well, I was going to say, the outpouring of love when people thought you were in trouble was one thing.
Yeah.
The the comments on the story
Yes.
to say that we'd
Relief
rescued it
and- yeah.
were off the scales. People so relieved,
Wow.
and saying lovely things about what a valuable,
Yes.
essential resource. Actually,
Yes.
I've seen so much like that. So I guess, but if you wanted to just tell anybody, that their
Yes.
courses are safe, if agents are signed up and halfway through
Completely.
courses,
Absolutely.
they can continue.
Yes, and we'll be still continuing the mission to create skills training courses, which we started and will be launching properly very soon. Luckily, with you, you're the queen of launching everything. And that's, so it's very complimentary because 62 million people actually left the industry globally. And there is a big hole in being able to train and keep professional the industry as new people start joining and coming back. And so we have so many titles that we can publish and create to sort of fill that gap. And we've got some great sponsors as well that have already agreed to help us with those skills courses like JC&Co, and we've got APG as well, and Avis.
Okay, so that's coming soon, so that's quite good.
Yeah.
And then long term, Clive, just to sort of pick up on what you said, you think the opportunities here are extensive.
Totally. I'm so excited, and because I'm personally so, as I said earlier, passionate about training generally, I think that's the key. The sustainability of the travel agent community is completely down to training, and it's completely down to that engagement. That training is product training. It's so important that agents actually are not just order takers, that
Well,
they can
especially
actually
with the
inform.
advent of AI, we've got to make sure agents can still add that value, that people can't just go and get.
Well, and again, you touched on
automated
something
way.
there. This, what I do believe about our business is that people today are becoming obsessed with AI and the threat of AI. And we know in so many things there's always a bandwagon. And I've always been, the opposite of bandwagon chasers. I see AI as being really advantageous to us as a business. It's going to help us. It's not a threat to us, and it's not a threat to the industry, so long as we embrace what it can achieve for us.
Yeah.
And you can't replace people. I'm sorry.
Well-trained people.
Well-trained
Yes.
people for sure.
Yeah.
You can't replace them.
But you can use AI to enable a lot more content to be produced because we are already using it, and we're doing video-based learning now. So that's really clever, where it can literally read the information that you put forward, and then it creates film against the information, creating like a video learning
It's good for
opportunity.
content creation,
But everything
absolutely.
needs to be checked.
Yeah.
So if you're using AI, you need to have somebody
Real
who says
person
that
with knowledge
content
to
is
check it.
correct, or let's change it this way. I see it more as a sous chef, and we're the chef. And then you, from there, can actually get content that you can rely upon.
Yeah.
And any kind of training or knowledge content has got to be relied upon. And so all of it is checked, even though we use AI.
Yeah. Well, listen, it looks like a wonderful partnership. It's been a very
Yes.
quick turnaround. I imagine from
Yes.
where you were feeling a week ago
Oh, God.
to the excitement that I can see now from both of you
Yeah.
about the fact that you've managed to rescue something, which I know is really important to you, Clive, to rescue something, but also with the opportunities that it brings for us in the future and for the whole industry. I think it's going to be fantastic. So thank you both very much for joining us today.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Lucy, and thank you so much, Clive.
Thank you.